Welcome to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast with me, Dave Roberts. I'm delighted to welcome this week's special guest, Joe Drake, who's the CIO for the Hut Group. Joe has previously worked in senior roles for the likes of Skyscanner, Wood Mackenzie, Betfair, the BBC, Accenture, and Diageo. Joe has an extensive experience of devising and implementing IT strategies within high-demand organizations. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us today, Joe.
It's great to be here, Dave.
So just to start things off, be really interested to know, how did you start your career in IT? And, was it the career path that you always wanted to follow?
It absolutely wasn't the career path that I wanted to follow at all. So it was totally by accident. I wanted to do something with sports. And I did sort of in the summer holidays, I did a bit of tech work with a family friend who was a computer consultant, but I never really considered it as a proper career for me. I think I had a preconceived idea about what a career in tech might be like. But I knew I enjoyed working with people. I loved being part of a team. I like winning. I enjoyed solving problems and making things better, which when I think about it now are all perfect really for a career in tech. I just hadn't realized it at the time. So I did this work on the side, and I actually had a really bad injury, which meant I couldn't walk around very well at all. And I took a job on a help desk, which wasn't part of my plan at all, but it was probably the best thing I ever did. And I really worked my way up from the help desk, really.
That's interesting, because that's exactly where I started as well.
I think all the best people do.
It gives you a really good grounding in IT, I think, and it
really does.
Yeah. That's really good to hear. So, on your career path, what's been the best bit of advice that you've received?
I think there's probably a couple of interesting ones from my mother. One was really listen to the problem, or listen to the opportunity or the outcome that you're trying to get to. The other thing she always said to me was volunteer for everything. And I think that's got a big part to play in where my career's gone, is everything I've volunteered for or taken on and done, I've been scared to death of, before I actually tackled it or felt that, I was really out of my comfort zone doing it. And every time I've done that, I've grown. And I think the other one was probably a realization for me rather than advice. And that was the skills from my years being within different sports teams and being a captain were actually really great foundations for leadership and actually leading and managing teams to win, which is, it's exactly the same as being in a sports team. You need to understand the strengths and weaknesses of each of the players in the team, make sure they're playing in the right position, that the formation and shape of the team is right. You need to figure out what is the match that you're about to embark upon, what you're trying to do. You're trying to get a win, or you're trying to draw. And basically changing the shape of the team depending on the challenge, and coaching and mentoring and practicing. All of these things that came naturally from taking part in many sports and being a team captain for many of those sports teams have really, really helped me during my career in tech.
So you mentioned about the team and getting the team in the right structure there. From a talent acquisition perspective, how difficult do you find it? Certainly now in the midst of a pandemic, how difficult has that talent attraction been?
It's been an interesting time, actually. During the pandemic, there's been a few big things happen at THG. There's been a number of acquisitions. We IPO'd, we've grown like crazy. We've actually been hiring like mad. And we've actually been able to hire a lot of people that have lost their jobs during the pandemic, or actually have transferable skills. But I think with regards to attracting, a really big part of my job is attracting and finding talent. I'm in a lucky position that THG is such a wonderfully exciting place to be. We're involved in so many different industries, so many different aspects of technology, that there's lots and lots of opportunity for the right people. But I spend a lot of time investigating the industry, the different organizations where some of my future talent might work, and really learning what's out there and how we can attract them over to THG.
So do you think that COVID has actually helped support you then in terms of the innovation agenda within the business?
Possibly. I think with regards to the actual technology and the things that we've done over the last 18 months to 2 years, it's really put us in good stead to at first be able to grow as a business. I think if we didn't have some of the things in place that we have now, we wouldn't have been able to support the incredible growth of the business. But I think we've probably been able to speak to people in different areas, globally, people in different areas that maybe we wouldn't have spoken to before, because we've all realized that we can be extremely flexible. We don't all have to be physically in the same office, and we weren't anyway to a certain extent. I've never sat in an office with all the people I work with in any job that I've had. So I think that definitely it has brought opportunity to speak to some different people in different locations, and people that have maybe been impacted, and we've been able to offer them jobs at THG.
Oh, that's really, really good to hear that. What do you think are those main challenges that face, not just you, but all technology leaders today?
Well, the thing that affects me, and I would hope I'm not the only one, it is all about the talent. So you've already sort of touched on the talent attraction, but for me, the team, the shape of it, the attracting the talent, retaining the talent, developing the talent, shaping it, scaling it, ensuring that I've got the right team and the best team that can scale and deliver at pace, and ensuring everybody in my team globally has everything they need to be successful. And that means I have to work very hard with the team, making sure we're all very busy and we've got many things that we would like to do in a day. But ideally, we want to be doing the right things that deliver the biggest value to the business. And that is all about making sure we've got the right people in the right place at the right time with the things that they need to be successful. So I think that's my biggest challenge. If I can get that right, then we can all be successful.
What sort of balance are you able to achieve between managing to create a digital transformational environment and one of innovation while also simultaneously supporting legacy systems and more about the business as usual activities? How do you go about managing that?
That is a tricky one. I think that is a tricky one for anybody that doesn't work up at a startup, I guess, is that you've got some of these great big legacy systems, and quite often they drive the way that you have to do things as well. They bend you out of shape because you've got to do things in necessarily not a sensible way. So I think with the innovation piece, everything we do, innovation isn't something that should happen once in a while. It should be something that's in our thinking every single day in the work that we do, whether it's with a legacy system or whether it's with something new. Something new, you absolutely want to set things up in a smart way, make sure that they can scale, the foundations are there right from the beginning. And you can do things in, everything's automated now. You wouldn't do anything manually. You would build it in a way that it will scale. But the legacy stuff, what we try and do is every day people are always thinking, whatever they do, is there a smarter way? And I see that's where most of the innovative ideas come from. There's always that balance of you're so busy running the legacy stuff that you don't get time to change it. But we make time, we have to. So people collect their ideas. We do these sessions where the idea is that you set aside a couple of hours on a Friday, but you've got a list of things that you want to do in that couple of hours. You pick one, you get the right skills in that room, and you do it. And you come out of that session with something that's made a difference. And if you do that, pretty much every week of the year, by the time you get to the end of the year, you're going to have 50 things that are better or improved on what they were before.
What sorts of things, are you allowed to give any examples of those types of things that you've done?
I think think it rather than specific examples, they're all along the same line of automating things, scripting things, making sure that we can do things at scale. So, think, and you do lots of these little things and they all add up to a big thing. So when we think, when we onboard a member of staff, there used to be so many manual steps involved in that. And then you imagine that in a completely virtualized working from home environment. We simply couldn't do that in the way that we used to do it. But we made lots and lots of little baby steps in the right direction, to the point where that is almost a fully automated process. We don't touch anything. You should know when somebody joins a business, as long as you've got their name and the job title, everything else is completely automated. Now, we were already working on that, but mainly for acquisitions, because we grow by acquisitions so much. We said, we need to make sure that when we buy a business, we can integrate them really, really, really quickly and make sure that they are integrated with all of our systems, all of our standards, all of our patches go out to their estate, and everything is managed centrally by us. So we'd started it because of that. But as it happened, when the pandemic hit, using some of the solutions we'd put in place for that, we were able to, the whole joiners, movers, leavers process is now very, very, very well automated. We've still got more that we want to do, and we will continue to take more baby steps. But yeah, it's all around just going, well, we need to scale, we need to do things quickly, and there are some things we just don't want to be involved in anymore because we've got more interesting things to do. So it tends to be those things. We innovate very regularly, and we solve lots of problems, and it takes us all in the same direction, and then it ends up being quite a big change for us.
I think that you touched on there about growing through acquisition, and that's something that resonates quite a lot with my particular role as well. What do you think are the biggest challenges when you're growing through acquisition at a rapid rate in that way? What are the things that you need to try and overcome?
I think, one of the big ones for us is security. We take security extremely seriously at THG. So there's the whole identity thing, identity management and logins and management of the machines and patching. We want to get their entire estate, whether it be their desktop estate, mobiles, servers, the networks, under our control and managed in a completely standardized way. And we aim to do that as quickly as we can. The other thing for that is it means that it's much easier for us to support those staff as well. And when we are releasing new things and new products and new ways of working, they're involved as well. Rather than going, oh yeah, we're doing this for everybody, apart from acquisition A, B, C, D, and E that we bought in the last 6 months. And the other thing is we don't want those staff to come into the support team or raise a ticket and us go, oh, hang on, which acquisition are they from? Oh God, and what setup have they got? And how do we support them? And so we look to basically roll out the same standard time and time again. And then it means every improvement that we make THG wide truly is THG wide. It's not just what people might call core THG, and then the acquisitions are kind of left to their own devices. So we just try and standardize.
That must have a positive impact on employee engagement, really, about being a digitally enabled workforce that's you can work like that. Is that something that you measure and you track?
We don't necessarily measure and track it. I think when we buy an acquisition, tech are there on day one. And we're saying hi and welcome, welcome to the team. Really excited about having you on board. And, we're really excited about giving you your logins to THG on day one. You can log in, you can see our intranet, you can collaborate with us on Teams, you can call us, you can message us, you can collaborate. So they're doing it right from the beginning. I think there's nothing worse than being the acquired, and then not being able to start building a relationship pretty quickly with your team. Who are my new teammates and my counterparts, and where do I actually find out some information about this business that have bought us? I think it makes them feel like they're part of the family right from day one, especially in this remote situation now. And that's been a big challenge for us. We've made a number of acquisitions during lockdown, and we've had to onboard them completely remotely. So that day one welcome meeting has had to be on Teams rather than in person. But as each acquisition goes by, we nail this and we get it even smoother. And every time we find an improvement and we make it even more efficient as each acquisition goes by.
What do you think the new ways of working will be in a post COVID-19 world? When we come out the other side of this, what changes do you think are going to happen?
I think what's going to be interesting is we're going to be in this hybrid world. So we certainly at THG, none of us are really sure as per the reasons. We weren't a massive work from home culture at all. We were all in the office, but we were across many different offices. We weren't all in one office, and we're very global. But I think when we go back, I think the workspaces might be more for, more in-depth team collaboration. It might be certain meetings where you actually physically want to get together, but you need to make sure that you create that environment where everybody can take part regardless of where they are. We kind of had to do that anyway. If we're having a workshop and we've got global teams involved, we have to make sure it's very easy for them to join that workshop, whether they're in the office or not. So we invested quite a lot of time and money in making sure our meeting rooms in all of the offices were all worked in exactly the same way globally. We wanted to make sure that a meeting room was simply like a device. So whether you're joining a Teams call from a mobile phone, a PC, or a meeting room, it's exactly the same. You hit the big join button and that's it. So we've done a lot of work to simplify our meeting room technology. And I think that's going to pay dividend when we start going back. I think we just about finished that when we started to go into lockdown. But I think as we start to go back, it's just making sure the experience is the same, regardless of which device you're joining from, whether that be a meeting room or a mobile phone.
Yeah, consistent approach. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's all part of this digital workspace. Is people need the tools to do their job, and they need to be able to do that from any device, anywhere. So I think that's going to be absolutely crucial when we go into this sort of hybrid environment.
Do you see it being here to stay as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll realise that we can be a bit more flexible about where people work from. I think we'll choose our physical together time when we want to work on things. I think as well, we're all individuals, and some people absolutely love working from home 100% of the time. Some people hate it, and everything in between. But if you can give people that flexibility, and if they've got the technology for that to not be a problem, then I think this is going to be great for everybody moving forward. Because as well, things change during people's lives. Through your career, there'll be lots of things that happen in your life that change how you want to work, where you want to work, what hours you want to work as well. And I think we've learned during the pandemic that we need to be a lot more flexible around people and their lives and when they work, especially if people are homeschooling. Some people might find it's easier to start work really early and finish early, some the opposite. I think just a much more flexible way of working and a lot more understanding about where people need to do their job from.
No, I absolutely agree in terms of flexible working. I think you also touched on there. Depends on the type of individuals as well, because many companies will have graduate training programs as well.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
They'll be perhaps a little bit more challenging to conduct those remotely. I think that'll be interesting to see how we tackle those types of things where people are usually
definitely
would learn the trade by being sat next to someone else, and that's.
Yeah,
maybe not always possible.
Yeah, and we've had to go with our grad program. It's called the Accelerator program. We've had to run that, fully remotely. And that's you're right. You can't sit next to the person that you were learning from anymore. Apart from actually what we have found is you can virtually sit next to them. Of course, it's a bit more difficult for those when you're coming in new and you haven't had the chance to build those relationships. Again, it depends on the individual, but I do feel if you've already got a relationship with somebody, that switch to virtual, I think, is a bit easier. But that's not been possible. So we've had to do that remotely. But then we've also found that we've been able to then involve many more people that we couldn't involve before because of maybe physical location. So we have been able to involve people globally a lot more easier. And we've also been able to record a lot of material and reuse it as well, which maybe when everybody's just sitting in the same room, you don't necessarily do because everybody's there. So it's definitely pros and cons with that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So what are your strategic aims for the next year? What are the things that are top of the list for you?
It's back to the people. We are growing at the rate of knots. Our Ingenuity business is got a lot of stuff in the pipeline. And I need to be able to make sure I've got that team that I need to be able to grow. This team needs to be able to deal with the legacy, transform the legacy, build the new. And I need to make sure that I'm building a legacy for the future as well. So everything I'm working on at the moment is around making sure everything we've got is fit for purpose. I've got like 5 areas of my strategy. The main one's talent. I've talked about that a lot already today. The other is making sure everything is as shipshape as it can possibly be. That's everything from making sure all the patching is done automatically, the feature and quality updates are done automatically across every single platform. I want to make sure every engineer that touches every platform is educated in the best possible way to make sure that it's easy for them to do their jobs and to do their jobs well. So I need to have the right team that can be the best that they can be, and that my job is making sure they're working on the right things to bring THG success. So, that probably is a very high level rather than going, I'm rolling out this technology or that technology. Yeah. But it really is about scale and pace and growth. That's my set of problems, if you like. If I get all of that in place, they will deliver the right things, the right technologies, those innovations and things. That will grow within the team.
I think we've often said it's not so much about the technology, it's more about the people. Yeah, the people,
really,
right?
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
So how do you go about communicating with the other board members about the strategic value of technology within the business and getting the support at that C-level? Yeah. What process do you go through?
Well, I think it's an interesting question, and I'm sure, Dave, you've heard me express my views on this before. I think that tech is the business. We definitely don't have this this relationship where the board is kind of saying, of course the board have got things that they want to achieve and the business wants to achieve. It's really my job as a tech leader to make sure everything's delivered in a great way, in a future-proof way, in an efficient way that will scale and grow. But also, we are the ones that are actually generating those revenue. The revenue generating ideas are a lot of the time coming from tech. So I think the way that we tend to do it, if I think about times when we've gone, there's a smart way of doing this, but you know what, this is going to take some investment, but the outcome is going to be this. Whether it's a packing bench in a warehouse, when you go, this maybe isn't as efficient as it could be, but we could redesign things and actually increase the output of the warehouse, but I'm going to need this amount of money. I think for us, it's about if we can show the value, either the efficiency or the opportunity to drive revenue, additional revenue into the business, then it's a very simple process of outlining that in a very simple way. It can be like a one-page slide, as is to be, and the difference, the amount that we need to invest, but the returns that will come from that. And then we get on with it and we get it done quickly. That is as simple as it works in our business. But quite often, what's nice about our business is we are all, it's a very entrepreneurial spirit. Everybody has the belief that they can come up with an idea that, if it's deemed a sensible one, will absolutely be able to do. But that a lot of those ideas now coming from the tech team are, this is going to bring more revenue into the business. We're not just here in the basement to keep things running. Tech is the business, and every business is realizing it's a tech business, whether it, food industry is now a tech business, travel is a tech business. And a lot of businesses have diversified as a result of that. So I think it's not a matter of convincing the board. We just don't find ourselves in that situation. Luckily for us.
That's good. It's good. Great to hear. How are you developing the profile of the tech team in terms of perhaps diversity and inclusion?
I think when I talk about team and the people, for me, it should be inclusion and diversity, because I truly believe if you don't have an inclusive working environment, well, it certainly isn't even going to be good for your existing staff, let alone, attracting other talent or people in from different backgrounds. It's really important that everybody in our team feels that they've got a voice, regardless of who they are, what role they're in, what level of seniority they are, what background they're from, what academic, qualifications they've got. And I think this is where a lot of this coming up with the smarter ways of working and innovation help, is by going, everybody's idea can be taken forward here, and take that time. And then we will share that back with the team and celebrate the success of each of those ideas. So inclusion is really, really important. Attracting people from a wide range of diverse backgrounds has to be done in many, many different ways. We have apprenticeships, we have internships, we have our accelerator scheme. We hire a mix of people from an experienced background to people from not a tech background at all, but with transferable skills. So you need to look in lots of different places to find that range of employee that you need to have a successful team. But the key thing is making sure you've got an inclusive environment in the first place.
Fantastic. That's really, really, really good to hear. So the final question for me today would be, what advice would you give to people starting out a career in technology? I
think the key thing is there are so many different roles in technology. I think that's the key thing I would want to share with anybody that's thinking about a career. The thing that worries me is we need to get to people before they're considering a career in technology. Because I think people think there's almost like these superhero roles, or what's seen as the rock star roles of tech, like the software developer, for example. But there are so many other different roles. And you don't usually, when you do an apprentice scheme or a grad scheme or an internship, you do get the opportunity to see all the different roles and the different teams. And I would always advise to try and do, some sort of scheme like that, where you get exposure. I honestly only really knew about the software developer role in tech when I started, and I considered going down that route because of that, but it didn't suit me. It didn't suit my personality. I felt I had skills that could be used in other ways, and I found my way by mistake, really, and by luck. So I think my advice would be, there are many, many different roles in tech. There are different programs you can get involved in that will expose you to lots of different areas. And there are so many transferable skills that can be used in tech, even if you haven't considered it as a career choice.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Jo. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Just want to take the opportunity to thank you again for sharing those career insights and experience, and I'm sure our audience will also enjoy it. So thank you once again.
Pleasure, Dave. Thanks for having me on.
Next week's podcast, I will be talking with Freddie Queck, who is the Chief Technology Officer at Times Higher Education. Please subscribe to the podcast and stay tuned for more inspiring tech leaders.